this is on here. Whoever called or emailed, I mean, usually you talk with them on the phone, let the other one start. Because they might already be afraid that you have an alliance with the person who called. You don't want to give that impression. So I always start with Joe talked with Mary on Monday. What she told me was that there had been an affair, that you'd had an affair, and that she's really mad. That's all I know. So Joe, why don't you pick it up there and fill in the blanks? So it gives Joe a voice, you know. And then he says his piece, and then I turn it over to her. And a lot of times I'll go back, I'll give him another round, you know, as long as I still got my 20 minutes, I want to hear the problem from their perspective. And then I say, okay, well, let me tell you how we work here. And it's a 5-step process. First thing is having some issues, and you've tried lots of things. You've tried reading books, you've tried other therapy, but you can't fix it. And a lot of times they'll chime in and say, well, that's us. You got us. You know. Then I say the second thing is an assessment, and always pick up my genogram and say, I've already started a family tree, and the assessment, all it is me getting to know you. It's not some fancy clinical thing. It's me getting to know you as a person. That's it. That's all it is. And asking you questions. The third thing is the feedback session. And I'll almost always tell them that it's an hour and a half. If I get a real reactive couple, I'll tell them 2 hours. Because I know it's going to take longer. And I don't want to be super rushed or stressed getting through it. But most people, I can get it done in an hour and a half fairly comfortably. I mean, there's a little bit of an urgency to it, but you don't have to get through all of it. So then, and a lot of times I'll stop here and do a commercial on what a feedback session is. And I'll draw, get rid of that. Just put it over. I'll launch into this little speech. I'll say, you know, everybody has psychological defenses that we use to function and cope with, and people only come to therapy if these defenses are down and they're having some pain. They're not going to take the time, they're not going to spend the money to come in and do this unless they're already bleeding on the carpet some. And I say, some approaches to counseling, their thinking is, we got to help Joe and Mary feel better because, you know, he hasn't slept, she's, you know, very upset, and, you know, whatever way their pain is manifested. But I say, we don't really care if you feel better, which always gets a little reaction from them. Because we want to help you get better. So I want to teach you some things. So when we get to the feedback session, I'm going to cut into your psychological defenses with words. And it's sort of a good news, bad news deal. The good news is you're going to learn a lot about why this situation happened with you. A lot of times I'll use the analogy of life is a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and most people, they're so close to their own lives, they're too close to the forest to see the trees. So if life is a big jigsaw puzzle, they've got maybe 30% of it put together. And I tell them, when we're done with the assessment and I do the feedback session, I'm going to have 80% of it together. Okay, again, I'm building anticipation. I'm trying to sell them, wow, this is going to be great. And I believe that. I'm not just selling them. I believe it because I'm going to tell them who their grandparents were, who the parents were, how their parents affected them, why they married, who they married, what they're passing on to their kids. That's a lot of stuff. So then I talk about that this isn't marriage counseling. That therapy, good therapy, is about truth. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to gather as much truth about you, about your family system as I can, and then I'm gonna share it back with you in another package, and it's gonna help you. Light bulbs are gonna turn on. So I tell them I really don't believe in marriage counseling, which also they get a little reaction to, because I say generally what marriage counseling is hey, let's the three of us brainstorm and see how we can fix this. And I say that can help maybe people who are coming in for a little marriage refresher course, but it ain't going to help you because you're in crisis. So we need something a lot bigger than that, and that's I'm going to try to change how you think about your situation by gathering truth and giving it back to you. So then the fourth thing is working on the issues as they've been more clearly defined. And then the fifth thing is healthy changes. And then I break it down as to what that is. The healthy change for you is married to be able to understand why Joe did what he did, to be able to forgive him, to not have your stomach clench up every time you pass that hotel. And Joe, for you, it's never acting out again, being trustworthy, being accountable, healing sort of the underlying causes of you being so needy and so out of control, or whatever the situation is. Tell them what it would look like if they both got healthy. So, but then I say, does this make sense as a course of action? And so many times I'll have people say, that looks great. Men love this because it's concrete. People have been to therapy to where there's no plan, there's no direction. It's just you come in and start talking, and they leave, and okay, we talked for an hour, but what did we learn? So people, they love the structure, and maybe they leave with a false impression that the whole process for 2 years is going to be structured, and it's not. We're only structured 3 meetings, but it engages people. I would say when I put this on the board, 98% of people finish the assessment and feedback. Now, what they do after that, the numbers drop. It's not 98%, but at least they're engaged in expecting a lot here. So in the first session, hook them on the process. You can't hook them on and write it down. If you're not writing stuff down, you're not really doing family tree counseling therapy. You got to draw it. You got to write it down. People are visual, and they'll connect with it a lot more if you write it down. Don't just tell them this. It'll be twice as more powerful if you write it down. So that's why you got to keep your board close. So